Nobody enjoys renewing their insurance. At least most people don't. If you do, you're a special kind of person, but most people don't, whether it's home insurance, car insurance, any other kind of insurance. Professional indemnity insurance is particularly onerous. We have to go through every single case and say exactly what area of law they were in and all that sort of stuff, and what percentages. We have to break them down to what areas of law. But I had to go through this whole process this week with one particular insurance, with our cars, because we've got more than one car. Now, many of you will think that you can get the best price just by going to a comparison website, but that's not necessarily true, because the latest trick that I found out this week was that some of the companies will quote what looks like a really attractive deal, but it's part of a multi-car policy, so you have to put the other car on there. And when you do put the other car on there, the overall deal is not as good as it was elsewhere by having them separate, which I don't quite understand. How can it be a better deal to do them separately when it's supposed to be a multi-car deal? That you get the picture. But you may not be aware that not all that long ago, the Financial Conduct Authority changed the rules so that renewing customers should get the same low price or lowest price on their renewal as a new customer would. This was to stop the practice of offering cheaper deals to new customers to entice new customers in. Financial Conduct Authority said that wasn't cool, and so they should stop doing it. But here's the really strange thing. Because it's a free market and these companies can set their own risk and their own prices based on their own risk analysis and so on, you get vastly and wildly different prices across the board, which is the reason that I can't stand doing this every year, because you go through the same rigmarole, the same list of questions again and again with different providers, because not all providers are on the comparison websites, and even then you get different comparisons on different comparison websites. I'm not going to name any. And even when you get what looks like the best deal, i.e. the lowest price, that's not necessarily the best deal, because sometimes the firm is just not really a trustworthy firm, at least according to review websites like Trustpilot. The amount of firms that have got 1 point something stars is astounding. There's only a few that I found that have got over 4 stars, and many of those have got some questionable reviews underneath. But what I found really strange is when you take 2 cars, let's call them car 1 and car 2. Car 1 might have been 600 and something pounds with company 1, but car 2 was well over £1,000. So I thought that was quite expensive. And that, by the way, was some £700 more expensive than last year. So car 1 being the cheaper one and car 1 being the more expensive one with company 1. So let's just look at hypothetical company number 2. Then looking at the most expensive car with car company 1 first, they said, well, we'll do that for about 700. Great, I thought. That's much better than well over £1,000. But that, as I said, was part of a multi-car policy. So then when I add on the second car, which was car 1, I'm probably confusing you now, but car 1 became the second car on the multi-car quote, they wanted £1,200 odd pounds for car 1. Remember, company 1 only wanted 600 and something for that car in the first time around. How strange. But then the more I go through this process, the more wild these prices come back. I had everything from 400 to nearly 2,000 for each of these respective cars. The net result of which, the whole thing was confusing, and I went back to the initial company and said, look, just do me some kind of discount. They took £100 off, to be fair to them, and I just ended up renewing with them. They, as it happened, had a reasonably good reputation. But the reason I'm doing this video and talking to you about this is because it's not always about the best or the lowest price. There are certain things that you really should look at. Now, this is not financial advice, and it's certainly not legal advice, but there are certain things that I would think are a very good value, such as the motor legal insurance. Because this is not sponsored, by the way, I'm not promoting anybody, but motor legal insurance can be anything in the region of, £30 to £50, some a bit more, some even a bit less. But they will run any case for you, whether it's against you because you've hit someone else or for you because, someone's hit you. And they run all of this off the back of your motor legal insurance, which otherwise you would have to pay for, which will be, believe me, reasonably expensive. Your first call with a lawyer will blow whatever it was that you were going to pay for your motor legal insurance in the first place. And also, if you're worried about getting hurt, now they tag on personal injury and all of these kind of add-ons. And another trend that I've seen recently are these boxes that track your driving. Now, I've seen mixed reviews for those. Some of them saying that they could offer you a discount if you drive well. Other people saying, well, the car's been on the drive for a month and it gave me a low driving score. How is that possible? Because I wasn't even driving it. Maybe that statistically they are more likely to be in a collision if they're not driving very often. I don't know. I don't know how they work those things, but I'm a little bit dubious as to these little boxes that track you while you're driving. They track apparently your speed, your acceleration, things like that. If you've got experience with these, by the way, let me know in the comment section below. Tell me what experiences you've had. But just as a warning to you, having been the barrister that's been to court to argue for and against many of these insurance companies arguing these cases, some of which, as I've said previously, are quite ridiculous, but many of these cases end up going to court. And some of the claims have racked up £7,000, £8,000, £9,000 in legal costs. So the motor legal insurance is certainly a good value for money in my humble view. Again, not financial or insurance advice or anything else, although I did qualify in that as well many, many years ago, but I haven't done it for a long time. But those little things are worth bearing in mind. Also, check out the reputation of the company behind it, because if the company has a very low reputation and you go into the feedback and so many people have said that they just refuse to pay out or they look for any excuse not to pay out, those can be a serious problem. I've had many clients before now that have come to us with problems that the insurance hasn't paid out, or they've had someone claiming against them, which has been false. One particular client, without naming names, obviously, somebody ran into them on some kind of moped, tried to blame my client, and they were chasing my client for years for the money for this. And it was absolutely patently not my client's fault on any objective, reasonable assessment. So it really is worth checking all of those fine details. But there's just a few tips and pointers and things for you to look at. But please do make sure you like the video and subscribe. And as always, thank you for watching.